If you're a kid, please make note of this. It's for your own good.
Let me show you my Pokemans.
So, I just turned 24 years old, and Pokemon recently turned 25. Fancy that. I may have been introduced to the series in a little bit of a weird manner, from a trailer of the third movie through a VHS copy of Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase, before watching the anime itself, getting some of the cards, and then finally jumping into the games with Leaf Green. Honestly though, this story is one I always cherish, because if it were not for Pokemon, I do not know who I would be today. It captivated me back then, and it still captivates me now, with the Pokemon themselves being the largest reason behind that. There are around 900 of these things now, and just about all of them have some kind of appeal, regardless of viewpoints one might have. I know I have this trend from birthday countdowns where the number of entries I talk about is how many years old I turn, but for this one, I thought 25 would be a better idea since my age and Pokemon's age are neck and neck, and just because of how many there are, picking 24 or even 25 of them is already a massive undertaking, reinforced by the fact that I personally don't have a specific value for what I look for in a Pokemon. I just like whichever ones make me happy, or perform capably enough on the field for me to use them. Though by capably, I do not mean enough to be top tier in competitive play. If they prove helpful on playthroughs or friendly online battles, that's good with me. There can absolutely be other contributing factors, but they all come back to how happy I can be just thinking about them. So I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to Pokemon. We all good? Good. Now let's catch all 25 of them. Route 1 Pokemon generally have a history of just being obligatory inclusions. They're not all bad, but most of the time they don't leave much of an impact and are generally brushed off. I'm sort of the same way, but Unova did have one statement to say about that, and it said, Puppy! So everyone, have I ever told you how much I love dogs? Because I love dogs. And sure, it's a really commonly used animal to base a Pokemon off of, but I don't care because look at Lillipup. He's small, light, happy, and enlightening. He's a friend. It can immediately get along with people it trusts, not cause many common dog troubles, and it'll always remember how you treat it. Game Freak, are you trying to melt my heart? It always gets the job done fairly decently in terms of battle capabilities, having decent stats for a first stage of a 3-stage evolution chain, evolving at relatively early levels, culminating in the same base stat total as Alakazam, and learning some really dandy moves at early levels and through TMs. It may not be super competitively viable, but whenever I use it on a playthrough team, it always helped me out, and when it became Stoutland, it carried me well until endgame. But in the end, I just like Lillipup because it's precious and it makes me happy. I wish I could cuddle with you. You are such a good dog. My opinions on the Pokemon introduced in Generation 2 tend to vary. I like some just fine, as well as name a few I could care less about. But there's some real goldies in there, like the one that can just ram a horn into stuff and call it a day. Sometimes that's all you need a Pokemon to do, because Heracross does his job so well. Between its incredible attack, along with good speed and bulk, and a fantastic assortment of physical moves to mop with, some of which it can learn very early depending on the generation, it can easily take care of any dangerous threats for you like it's nothing. If that's not enough, Game Freak picked great abilities that send that fantastic attack into overdrive. Play your cards right with any of them, and this thing can make several opponents hit the floor in seconds unless they bought a really fast flying type, though I personally like Guts the most for yielding the most consistent results, but Swarm and Moxie are great too. It's always helpful whenever it's available, and it's just so fun watching it shred opponents that would normally be harder to get over. Plus, I just really like how it looks. The colors honestly really work making it look strong, but I also find parts of it pretty endearing. Something about those eyes or how it uses its senses to find food is just something that just makes me smile. That's Heracross in a nutshell. It's worthy to smile, and it gets work done for you on the field. And that's good with me. Oh, and then Mega's okay. Though I enjoy maximizing my attack and going to town with one-shots over Bug-type Cloyster personally. One of my favorite things about the Generation 4 Pokemon lineup is the new evolutions to older Pokemon. Many older mons who used to be mediocre or just plain bad got a chance to redeem themselves, and did so immensely. I outright didn't care for many of them prior, but thanks to these new evolutions, my views on them shifted upwards by quite a bit. Which brings me to this question, and I want you to be honest about it. Aside from the cuteness factor and the anime, how many of you actually got invested into the Togepi line prior to Gen 4? If you didn't, well then Gen 4 gave you a reason to. Not to say that there was anything unusable about Togetic, but it definitely falls short of the potential it could have. And even today, it's just kind of boring to use in my opinion. But when you get that shiny stone, Togekiss makes it all worth it. With these wonderful stats that make it so it can take some damage and still hit back with a ton of force when using special moves, a great move lineup giving it strong coverage, access to Serene Grace giving it a lot more utility, and having a couple handy resistances and 2 very reliable immunities, a good Togekiss can be an outright pass to the opponent if things favor you. I'm sure people who have used or have faced paraflinching Togekisses can attest to that. It's something I love using, but I hate it when it's used on me. No wonder it's known as the bringer of blessings. If you have one of these, good luck will almost always be on your side. So you have every reason to get one. The evolution train continues. I never really cared for Royale in Gen 3. It really didn't have anything to offer me in terms of how it performed, and its design really doesn't do anything for me. And while Racing 1 in Gen 4 had some rough bits, when that shiny stone came, the rose truly blossomed. We went from a little bulb to a slightly bigger bulb with a few roses, to a full-on masquerade dancer with rose motifs for both the top hair and the bouquets on the arms, complete with a cape and a mask for good measure. Okay, that's the kind of amazing creativity I'm looking for in an evolution. Everything about Roserade's design just clicks with how well it utilizes humanoid and plant motifs to the fullest. And if anyone calls Roserade ugly, please know that all roses have thorns. Sure, its physical stats aren't very good, but its special stats easily make up for it, and it's also faster than you might expect. The moves it has are also very impressive, and it also kept Toxic during the Sword and Shield transition, which is a big boon considering how much harder that move is to come by. With how many grass poison types there have been, Roserade is honestly one of the best you could ever ask for. So you can either be its dance partner, or victim to its thorns, and no one wants the latter. One thing that I was definitely missing out on when I played LeafReam for the first time was tray evolutions. Because my brother and I were stuck using a single Game Boy Advance and a single copy of the game at the time, we didn't have as many choices as we'd like. But that changed when I got my own Game Boy Advance and my own copy of LeafReam for Christmas of 2008. And from then on, my brother and I had fun with each other like there was no tomorrow. And we even tried out some tray evolutions, one of which I was surely Fuden for. Get it? Because its Japanese name is Fuden? Oh come on, I thought it was funny. I think most of us can agree that Alakazam has withstood the test of time. Sure goes down easier than a Snorlax that just had its lunch if a strong physical move hits it, and I can understand if one would consider it god tier because of the presence of some popular dark type moves, especially priority ones, but that mix of special attack and speed with this selection of moves is downright beautiful. For every game I chose to use Alakazam in, it made any fighting type trainer its puppet and punctured several holes into many of the tougher boss trainers, all through the power of putting absolutely no effort into its body structure and maximizing its psychic power to do all its work, including holding up its own head. But then, someone decided that Alakazam needed to let other trainers experience tranquility in Gen 6. By that, I mean give it so much power that it could theoretically grab a meteor with its mind and cause a giant explosion with it because somebody approved of this. Note to self, do not anger psychics with majestic beards, or suffer the consequences. Pseudo-legendaries are always Pokemon I look forward to. Harder to raise than the rest, yet incredibly strong all the same. I've always really enjoyed these, and selecting favorites was another hard task. Mol's next entry isn't my absolute favorite one of the lot. It went all out in just being pure metal. There were elements to satisfy the role of OP Dragon for sure, but when you've got an Omnidroid with a supercomputer for a brain that can also float because of stuff this series likes doing, I slightly tilted more in the latter's favor. Metagross just looks sick. The menacing way it stands on those legs, the eyes, the metallic cross on its face, it's hard to resist how amazing Metagross looks, as it is hard to resist how formidable it truly is on the field. Its stats, barring speed, are a sight to behold, which actually leads me to recommend Agility on it, so it has absolutely no bad stat and can just do whatever it pleases. It has excellent coverage with its moveset, a typing that can make it immune to poison and resist 9 of the 18 types, and an ability that makes it immune to stat lowering. There's so much to love about Metagross, and that's before you get to its robust Mega. With this, all of its stats are over 100, except for HP, And it gets access to Tough Claws, making already strong moves that make contact hit even harder. This thing is bigger, it's badder, and it can be too much for trainers unprepared for it. And it sure has earned a place among my favorites. Also, its shiny form makes it look even more menacing, and I love it. Was proud to use the shiny on my first playthrough of Alpha Sapphire. Well, Lightning is part of my YouTube name, so I might as well come out and say that overall, the Electric type is my personal favorite type in all of Pokemon. Sure, it may be weak to a commonly used offensive type, and only super effective against 2 others, but Electric type Pokemon are honestly so fun to use, and what they do cover can go a very long way for me. There's so many of them that just click with me, so I'll start off their representation by talking about a legendary. Yeah, this rooster just came with a buzzsaw and mohawk just to show how much I love it. More realistically speaking, Tapu Koko has my favorite design out of all the legendary guardians. The colors really make it pop. I love the patterns on its shell. The fact that it can cover itself with it and also have a sort of pseudo beak on the exterior is just flat out neat, and overall has this great balance between majestic and just wickedly cool. I really like him as someone can pull that off. And being a legendary, Tapu Koko sure lives up to it. Being as fast as Jolteon, and unleashing physical blows as hard as Entei, having a solid roster of moves, and a fantastic ability of Electric Surge that was stolen by Pincurchin one generation later, it's got permission to be strong, and it knows it, despite the lack of physical fairy moves. At least Dazzling Gleam with a base 95 special attack is good enough. But honestly, out of all of these, I love Tapu Koko because of its character and how it's implemented into Gen 7's story and lore. It's regarded as the guardian of Melee Island, and while it definitely does its part, it only protects those it deems worthy, which is not always immediate. Tapu Koko always studies various people by watching or interacting with them to truly understand what they want to do, and whether that ideal is one it supports. I guess that's why the residents of Melee Island have these battle festivals. It lets this guardian understand their passions. This makes Tapu Koko, to me, more interesting than the other guardians, even with their own qualities. It even comes together when they let you face it as part of Sun and Moon's ending. It's proof that they can take one awesome base concept for Pokemon and try to make it more narratively impactful. Sometimes I don't need to be weird with choices. Sometimes I could just go with an easy one. It may have a ton of different important roles in the anime, been one of the poster boys for Pokken, joined Smash to promote Gen 4, and God knows what else, but I'm cool with that because Lucario is awesome. I love the references to Egyptian stories, especially those pertaining to Anubis, as well as the colors just working out in the best way. But what gets me about Lucario is how well it can be a steadfast guardian, a capable warrior, and just a good friend altogether. I mentioned how well Pokemon can nail compromises between 2 styles, and Lucario is honestly a great example of that. I mean, to get it you have to go through friendship methods, but when reaching this form, you've got a balanced offensive stat spread, a great variety of moves, and a type that has 8 resistances and an immunity to poison. Lucario in general is well optimized to take on most Pokemon present in main campaigns it's available in, because of how balanced it is in terms of stats, and how much fun it can be to figure out a moveset for it. It's really easy to fit in on a team, and it'll almost never let you down, no matter the region. And of course, Game Freak decided to give it a Madao, where its offensive stat spread is amazing, and its ability sends its stat bonuses into overdrive. The aura will always be with him, that much is for sure. Imagine getting mad about molehills in your yard. You want to find out what caused them, and then you discover that it was all the work of this thing! At that point, you're gonna be the one exterminated. If you desire sheer power when using a Pokemon, Excadrill can easily satisfy that, both for main playthroughs and even competitive play. Packing amazing attack, the ability to learn Earthquake, Rock Slide, and Swords Dance leveling up, great coverage through TMs, and a type that resists 8 types and make it so it can't be poisoned or paralyzed. Excadrill will be able to take some hits and drill through whatever stands in its way. And I have not brought up its excellent abilities. Sand Force powers up a lot of the moves you'll definitely be using on it, Sand Rush makes it go from reasonably fast to being able to outrun a bullet train in sandstorms, and Mold Breaker just lets it power through abilities that make an effort to stop it. Have fun outspeeding everything and knocking out Pokemon that normally have Sturdy in one hit. On top of all that, it just looks awesome! Who knew someone could take something as admittedly cute as a mole and make it look slick with those markings and the metal claws and head that it can use to go into full-on drill form. Pokemon is fun. For most generations, I generally tend to flip-flop between the Fire Starter and the Water Starter. I really enjoy using both types. The starters of either or both of them tend to cater to my preferred Pokemon playstyle, and I just happen to like their designs the most. Geller did a great job managing its set, but honestly, the bunny took that ball and used it to score one heck of a goal. Now, I really do like Scorbunny for being a precious bean, and Raboot for just being a flat-out mood, but to me, they contribute to why I really got into Cinderace. It honestly reflects on how I feel someone's growth on a Pokemon journey goes, starting as young and well-meaning, and gradually growing into the very definition of a bro, and becoming more appreciative of all the aspects the journey can offer, ups and downs and all. This is helped by the fact that it's incredibly expressive, and shows a large degree of charisma with you and the rest of your Pokemon. It even handles the bouncy ball like it's playing soccer. And that reflection certainly comes out into battle. There's great stats and coverage, which already gets my approval, but then comes Libero, where it makes like Greninja and becomes the type of the move it just used. This flat-out gives Cinderace an extra layer of fun and strategy, playing with your opponent and taking advantage of whatever holes in the team it can score a goal in. And if it goes Gigantamax, I hope you're good at playing goalkeeper. Though now that I say that, how would a soccer game with Cinderaces go? I would love to see that. During the build-up to Pokemon Sun and Moon, one thing that excited me was all the new Pokemon they were showing off. Not only did they look cool, but it made it kind of fun to look and see which ones I wanted for my team. Which leads me to the July 1st trailer that revealed Vikavolt. I knew I would love this Pokemon the second I saw it. A stag beetle with pincers that can channel electricity and fire blasts like a railgun? Yes, this was something I did not know I needed, but now I just feel like parading around with it. I mean, sure, in the original Sun and Moon, I could not get it until the very end of the game, but you know what? It was well worth waiting to get something I could just use to put at my side and fire projectiles that could level even the strongest of mountains. I mean, sure, it's slow, but are you looking at that special attack? Are you brushing off the fact that it gets Thunderbolt upon evolving into this form? Bug Buzz leveling up, Air Slash either by Move Tutor or TR, Energy Ball and Flash Cannon through TMs. This thing is packing heat, and plenty of it. And for another thing, I actually found it really handy to pack agility and speed boosting items on this thing. If it gets to a point where it has enough speed, not many Pokemon can stand up to it, even before taking into account that it has Levitate, giving it a ground immunity. Sometimes all you need is something to yank out and blow all your problems away. And Vikavolt does exactly that with the right tools for me. You know, bug types are weird. I've talked about what happens when BLs get their horns strong enough to wreck shop, or take some influence from railguns to go off on a blasting spree. But I have yet to mention when moths praise the sun. Yeah, when that happens, moths are apparently blessed with so much power, they might as well be suns themselves. And I mean that from a biological and a battle standpoint. Volcarona scales can not only create massive seas of fire on a whim, but if need be, it can provide heat and light that can outright replace the sun. And given how much heat and light the sun naturally provides, that's impressive, and gives the signal that this thing is not to be trifled with. And boy can it back that up. The stats? Beautiful. Moves? Quiver Dance upon evolving, Bug Buzz, Heat Wave, Fire Blast, and Hurricane leveling up. A signature move that not only hits hard, but also has a high chance of raising its already incredible special attack stat, as well as grass moves through TMs and TRs. Abilities? Okay, they're nothing to write home about. Also, sure, it's susceptible to Stealth Rock, thank Arceus or Heavy Duty Boots, and yeah, it takes longer than a car trip from California to Florida for it to evolve, assuming you're raising a Larvesta from scratch, and not playing Sword and Shield and relying on the EXP candies. But do you really need anything else besides these incredible stats, and access to a wondrous buffing move, and that degree of coverage? I mostly used Volcarona for post-game activities, but I'm okay with that, because in the right situation, this thing can scorch entire teams. No wonder it's regarded as a deity of fire, or even the rage of the sun by many. It is well worthy of those titles. What better way to follow up one incredible Pokemon from Gen 5 than with another? Now we're going to a giant lizard with a tomahawk on its face. As you do. But real talk here, I think whoever designed Haxorus had the time of their life. The tomahawk-like tusks and how the edges are colored red, the eyes, the armor-like scales on the body, the shiny form's color scheme. There's so much I love about this Pokemon from looks alone. and if you get on its good side, then it's admittedly very friendly, always showing a degree of respect for those it cares about. But if you get into territory it doesn't want you to be in, then you might remember that those tusks can cut steel beams and start cowering. I mean, do you want to be at the end of this attack stat, let alone the combination of it and this much coverage? Probably not. And if it dragon dances on you, pick a god and pray. With the sheer power Haxorus has, even before dancing, there was a ton it sliced through for me, including some tougher bosses like Ghetsis' Hydreigon in Black and White 1, which was honestly the only time I ever dealt with that thing without suffering massive casualties. Believe me, it feels good seeing all these problems just get ripped to shreds by this beast, and I don't see that value going away anytime soon. Okay, I'm making a favorite Pokemon video, which means I gotta pick a favorite evolution. I've always been fond of Eevee, from concept down to how precious it is, so I've got some opinions about its numerous evolutions. But I'm perfectly happy with Espeon. Evolutions tend to be easy to just slide in on a team, though maybe not absolute beasts in the long run, and I'd be lying if I said that Espeon was any different. It's not helped by the fact that over time, there have been Pokemon who can do something similar to it, or even more. But from a more personal perspective, I still think Espeon has worth. With that strong stat spread of high speed and special attack, along with it getting slightly more coverage than one evolution normally gets, and the fact that while it doesn't have exclusive access to magic bounds, it's still a fantastic ability. Love Uno reversing thunder waves in those rocks. However, the main reason why I love Espeon is its design and demeanor. The pink fur, combined with that face, and how small its legs are, give it an appearance that's both adorable and downright elegant. The other implementations of being a psychic type, like the gem on its forehead, and being able to sense what other living beings are thinking, using physical traits like its ears and its tail weirdly enough, are borderline fascinating concepts I think are generally taken advantage of. I also really like how it actually uses those senses to protect its trainer, on top of doing weird things like predicting the weather. It's just a cute, loyal pink kitty, and it makes a great partner. Honestly, if Pokemon actually existed, having an Espeon as a pet would literally be all anyone would ever ask for. I mean, with how friendly and social it can be, would you blame anyone? Alright, one last pseudo-legendary. This is another beastie I'm sure the guys over at Game Freak had a ball designing. I mean, where else does the idea of a land hammerhead shark with arm blades come from? Probably someone really crazy. I mean, if I saw a Garchomp coming at me from the ground, or flying at me faster than a jet plane would, I'd probably be cowering in fear too. And that's the thing. Fighting Garchomp is terrifying. Its type makes it a near unstoppable offensive demon, even against types that would commonly resist it. It has no notably bad stat, its weakest stat is just okay, and the moves it learns will ensure it will be slashing something before it gets off the field, even if the one facing it has a Pokemon that can reasonably handle it. It can even take on fairy types without much hassle, as it learns both Poison Jab and Iron Head. I'm always on the edge of my seat when fighting Garchomp, but at the same time, using it is one of the most fun experiences I've had in any Pokemon game. What if I don't want to synergize team efforts to win it, and just throw food Garchomp loves onto one of its foes, and watch it as it eats away? It's mindless, but honestly, it never gets old, and it just makes me feel good. And that describes Garchomp in a nutshell for me. It's so satisfying to use. And for my favorite pseudo-legendary, that's all I need. Also, who in the blazes thought it needed a Mega where it gets size for arms and a buttload more attack and bulk, though not as much speed? Probably someone really crazy. One last Gen 4 evolution to an older Pokemon. I love many of these for a lot of the reasons brought up earlier, but picking my favorite turned out to be an easier task when I became a bit more seasoned and thought about my answer to the question of what 6 Pokemon I choose to be on my team if I was given all of them, barring legendaries. It's the Vampire Scorpion. Now, Gligar is fine. It is relatively competent at its job, but sadly it gets overshadowed by several more appealing ground types who do its job better. But things all changed when Gliscor came around. It's boasting a very balanced stat line, ensuring it can take hits, hit back with a lot of force, and outspeed a fair amount, a diverse move pool both in terms of level up moves and TMs, 2 immunities, an ability that prevents its attack from being lowered, and a hidden ability that lets it heal every turn it's poisoned. Gliscor can fulfill any role it needs to on your team. It can easily power up and hit the opponent really hard, or it can set up and act as a great counter to a lot of common stallers. True, in hindsight it probably won't be the go-to ground type in a lot of in-game playthroughs, since Platinum is the only game that's relatively easy to get early on, and even then it comes in at the same time Gimmel does. I mean, I guess you could make the argument for it being easy to consider in Black and White too, and you're kinda right, though many other ground and flying types have been available for a lot longer, making the decision a little harder. Everywhere else, it either comes in way too late, isn't available until post-game, or was just flat out not included. So chances are, some of you might not have experienced Gliscor's greatness unless you're into versus. But honestly, it's so useful on both fronts that I'd recommend it anywhere. It's so practical and so helpful that it borderline works on any team. So go get one. I'm the kind of guy who bonds well with Pokemon I get to know on main journeys, and can also give me a fun time in battles anywhere, though with competitive limits. But every once in a while, I find myself attached so much to some legendaries. These are another beast entirely, contributing to some form of world building and inner lore about the Pokemon world entirely, which really proves incentive to get to know them and maybe catch them for yourself. I consider it a lot, but only a few actually made the cut. So now let's talk about how they made something brilliant out of the concept of the Boogeyman. When I said brilliant, I really did mean that on all fronts. Yeah, I get it, it's pretty much the law for the legendaries to be great battlers, but even so, these stats and this move pool are not to be scoffed at. Though I want to take a moment to note one thing Darkrai has in battle that is unlike any other Pokemon: how it implements nightmares into it. Its signature move, Dark Void, allows it to put any Pokemon on the opposing side of the field to sleep. Even with the lowered accuracy in the Gen 6 to Gen 7 transition, if it manages to put you to sleep, you're in a special kind of trouble, because you're both open for the picking, and your health is constantly draining thanks to its ability Bad Dreams. This is an offensive force you definitely don't want to be napping against. But Darkrai more so resonates with me in terms of design, lore, and overall purpose in the Pokemon world. From the moment I first saw it in Rise of Darkrai, I was enamored by how eerie and creepy, yet oddly beautiful it looked. And this movie surely doesn't let up in giving me reasons to learn more. It has the ability to permanently cast living beings into slumber and cause them to have never-ending nightmares, as well as inhibit any dream it desires to give itself nourishment. But it doesn't use this for evil. It uses it to escape from any potential danger it comes across, and only chooses to feed off nightmares that come naturally. I honestly find this incredibly fascinating, as it really does depict Darkrai in a different light from what you'd think it'd be based off this description, which in turn makes it feel more special along with its more soft and courageous moments from Rise of Darkrai. Though that didn't stop it from being used as the main antagonist for various spin-offs. Nice job, guys. Grass starters were never my forte. I don't dislike any of them, but along with the fact that fire and water always appeal to me a lot more than grass in terms of types, on their own, the grass starters don't really hit that special place within me, in all honesty. At least Owen decided to be the odd one out. I'm really happy for this deviation, because everything about Sceptile just radiates personality. The slick design, the fact that it enjoys having a twig in its mouth at all times, the extra base of expressiveness it has in the likes of Pokken, Sceptile knows how cool it is, and just embraces it. It even makes having a literal tree for a tail actually be really neat. And honestly, I just feel cool using it as my grass Pokemon of choice. Sure, it may learn a lot more cool physical moves than special moves, despite what its stats may tell you, but with both sets being diverse, access to Swords Dance and Dragon Dance, and a hit ability that takes its already amazing speed and kicks it into overdrive, just make it so much more fun to use. Heck, it even had a Mega back in Gen 6 and 7, which provided a type well suited for offense, even better stats, and access to Lightning Rod, meaning more powerful if it evades an electric move through some method. It can also fire its tail like a missile, because apparently it needed to be so much cooler. Sceptile is just so fun to use, and can basically cover anything your team needs in terms of sweeping. And as someone who enjoys going in with good offenses, it really stuck out to me. I like strategizing. I like thinking of possible plans to win battles with ease. But sometimes, I just want to be brainless, charge in, wreck some shop, and leave with a mess that'll take ages to clean up. And this T-Rex is easily one of my favorite methods of doing that. With the popularity dinosaurs can amass, especially to kids, I'm kinda surprised it took until Gen 6 in order for a full-fledged T-Rex Pokemon to actually exist. But do I care? Not really, because Tyrantrum, from both a design standpoint and a battle standpoint, does not disappoint. Seriously, this thing looks awesome. At first glance, Tyrantrum's stats and type are really awkward, only excelling in attack and defense, while being kinda okay everywhere else, and having 6 weaknesses with only 5 resistances and no immunities. But when it gets the right set and jumps into your hands, you'll begin to fear the sheer power at your disposal. Dragonlance in general is a blessing on any sweeper, but Tyrantrum is a special case, since it's a Pokemon that can pick up on its speed stat without too many setups, and has access to the same type of attack bonus, Head Smash. With the Dragonlance or 2, the amount of Pokemon that can outspeed is respectable, and the damage it can deal with Head Smash is downright ludicrous. Oh, and it can have Rock Head, meaning it doesn't have too much to worry about aside from maybe bulky steel types. But even then, it has a great move pool that you can easily put together the rest of its set from there, so it can shred through most types, including ones that normally resist it. Tyrantrum just exudes power, and I always enjoy using it wherever I can, especially when the cards are just right and it sweeps through entire teams. Jurassic World's dinosaurs have got nothing on this king. I'm a longtime Pokemon fan on YouTube, talking about my favorite Pokemon. So now I gotta answer this one question. Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle? Just about everyone has gotten to know these three, and a large group of Pokemon fans have had to choose between them at the start of their journey, including myself. I in particular love all three, but in the end, my answer to the question is Squirtle. Out of these three, I love Squirtle, or more specifically the final form, Blastoise, for quite a number of reasons. I can understand the argument of it not being as great as other water types of its caliber, as its stats, while really solid, aren't anything groundbreaking, neither ability is that impressive, and its move pool isn't insanely diverse. But I still enjoy using it regardless. There were a lot of opponents it outsped that I never expected it to, and what it had was enough to get quite a bit of work done whenever I decided to use it. And Sword and Shield giving it Shell Smash? Woo! Yes, sign me up! While there is all that, and the fact that its design looks really sweet, and the Mega at once had gave it great stats and a super cool ability, why Blastoise is so high up for me is because of the personal connection I have towards it. I know that reason can be really corny, but honestly, if a Pokemon has had an impact on you at a specific point, that's something you're bound to hold near and dear to you, and it sure is a valid reason to love a Pokemon. In this case, I've got treasured memories with Blastoise. So, back in the mid-2000s, my brother and I had a Game Boy Advance and a copy of Pokemon Leaf Green that we played through multiple times but never actually finished. But there was this one playthrough we decided to use Squirtle on, and soon enough, he performed well against Brock and all of the opponents around him to the point where he grew kinda strong for that point in the game that we decided to use him and him alone. As Squirtle grew, eventually becoming Blastoise, barely anything scratched him, and he mopped up against everything thrown at him, all culminating in him being around level 82 when we got to the Elite Four. This was so special, because this was the first time we got anything done in the later parts, let alone beating the game and seeing what was beyond that. Sure, we didn't know much about a good team balancing at the time, so all I knew was Surf, Return, and Hydro Cannon, I forget what the fourth move was, but the fact that we finished the game for the first time and saw what the postgame had to offer with this Blastoise is a story I will always hold on to. Have I ever told you how much I love dogs? Because I love dogs. And I love that there is an electric-type dog family in Galar. Come here, you two! Okay, I know that now I'm including two Pokemon on the spot, but not only are they part of the same two-stage evolutionary line, but I like them for the exact same reason, that being... Oh my god, you two are so cute and I love you with every fiber of my being! Okay, so there's a little more tight to performance on the field, as while this line isn't amazing, they still aren't slouches. Yamper is overall okay for an unevolved Pokemon, while Bolton has commendable balanced offenses with blisteringly fast speed. For heck's sake, this thing can use electricity for its legs to run easily over 50 miles per hour and keep running for 3 days. This thing would easily be an Olympic champ. While it gets neat abilities, Bolton has shallow coverage to get the most out of competitive, and Strong Jaw only makes biting moves stronger, giving it more predictability. At least letting play rough leveling up is great. But I'm sorry, these two just melt my heart just looking at them. The fact that they're usually smiling, Yamper's paws, tail, and heart-shaped pattern on its butt, Bolton's eyes and the way it runs, oh my lord, did Yamper just fetch my Pokeball? You are so generous! Man, I could just sit here and watch my family of puppies just be a cute family of puppies for days on end, or just be best buddies with Pikachu. That is absolutely great therapy. I had Blastoise as my favorite water starter for a long time, but alas, when I wanted it to stay that way, Alola had something to say about that. Have you ever fallen in love with something the moment you saw it? Well, there certainly have been Pokemon that I've fallen in love with at first sight. I never knew what they could do with the idea of a mermaid Pokemon, but it became part of our world, manifesting into Primarina, and I could not be happier. I love all the inspiration they took from various mythological sea creatures, like mermaids, sirens, and a bit of Selkies, because the end result is one of, if not the most beautiful Pokemon I have ever seen. The face, the eyes, that adorable star pin on its head, the way the mermaid features were handled with the tail, and the fact that it has sea braids as part of its body that can unravel its hair with are all truly breathtaking. It's a Pokemon that is easy to be allured by, and will have a happy ending if you end up as its friend. End up as its foe, and... do you want to be at the end of a special attack stat rivaling Moltres? No? Good, because it has that special attack, along with special defense that makes Suicune happy, excellent coverage, and a type that gives it 6 resistances and a dragon immunity, which is magnificent for a starter. Really, Primarina is just amazing in every sense. I've used it on my main team in Gen 7 the most, and I even get some competitive use out of it. This beauty sure came from under the sea into a special place within me. These are another beast entirely, contributing to some form of world building and inner lore about the Pokemon world entirely, which really proves incentive to get to know them and maybe catch them for yourself. And Gen 5 drove that home. From the base design, I fell in love with both Zekrom and Reshiram when I saw them. But then when I saw their types, I knew where my loyalty resided. There has never been a Dragon Electric type at that point in the series, so to finally see one in full force and be the mascot legendary felt good. From a design standpoint, Zekrom just looks awe-inspiring. The way it cleverly uses its dark colors to give off a sinister vibe, the parts of its body that look armored, the generator tail, Zekrom is one of the closest things we've had to an actual mechanical dragon, and I don't need to tell you how wicked that is. But on top of making it look awesome, Game Freak decided to actually give it a strong degree of symbolism within the series, with a hint of representation for human aspects. In Pokemon lore, Zekrom sided with the hero of Unova who sought to bring out the ideals of humans, fighting for a bright future of what could potentially come true, playing the opposite side of Reshiram and the other hero of Unova who believed in the truth, basically believing in what's been established. Truth versus ideals. No right or wrong, yin and yang, black and white. I think you can see where the symbolism comes from. This also makes the two so much more interesting as Pokemon, and it also makes their implementation in Pokemon Black and White 1's story more impactful, with then getting whichever dragon is not on your box and letting you have the one that is, which in White's case is your character getting Zekrom. Despite how there can be a role reversal in Black, I much prefer it when Zekrom is on your side, because not only does what it represents resonate with me more, but again, Dragon Electric is cooler, to me at least. And if it chooses you as its hero, it'll absolutely use these stats, this move pool, these 2 signature moves, and this ability to fully see your ideals through to the end. I love it when they add personal stakes to a legendary. I said Sceptile was my favorite grass starter, and I said Primarina was my favorite water starter. But I never said Cinderace was my favorite fire starter. Because monkey. At a young age, I was always stuck with Leaf Green and didn't catch up until I was like 12 when I got a DS in Diamond. And for base starters, I always liked Chimchar more. Maybe the anime had a hand in that, but Chimchar just got to me. So you can imagine how I felt when it eventually became a fiery Ozaru that proves to be potent against many of the bosses in Sinnoh, and even could get a lot of good work done in online battles. Thanks to that speed and balanced attacking stats, Inferno can be any kind of sweeper you need it to be, helping out by being able to learn Swords Dance and Nasty Blot. but there's even some moves you can use to set up on the foe and potentially make things easier for you. No matter where I used Infernape, it was able to just come in, hold its ground hard, and just go completely ape on whatever was out, because it's just how much it can cover with what it's capable of. I'd also like to admit that despite playing Leaf Green first, Infernape was the Pokemon to teach me about putting more effort into a Pokemon's move pool. When I started playing Pokemon, I only picked random moves I felt like without actually thinking of synergy or coverage, but this monkey gave me a chance to really think about what moves would be ideal for what it wants to be, without sacrificing too much. It's very easy to do that with its balanced defensive stat line and the physical special split, so this thing is basically an invitation to get creative. And throughout all my Sinnoh playthroughs, that's what I did. And after that, not a whole lot of Sinnoh's boss trainers could handle it. Many of them have one or multiple Pokemon that are weak to fire, or fighting, or even both. Sure, it's not that sturdy, and you do have the select few that can counter it, but by then, it's pretty easy to find a team member that complements it so well. I've loved Infernape for the longest time, and I'll continue to love it for days on end. Can't wait to spend more time with it when the remakes come out. Well, this should be interesting. I already had a hard time organizing this top 25, let alone doing that and thinking of other candidates I could have put on here. Heck, I could have made this a top 100 if I really wanted to, because there's just so many Pokemon that I adore. So how do I go about organizing the honorable mentions part? Well, because I had a ton of candidates for that, I'm going to go on super rapid fire with them, but in a way that's both fun to me and honorable to something every longtime fan remembers. Everyone, it's Pokerap time! Galvantula, Neganadal, Oshawott, Kommo, Grimmsnarl, Altaria, Zoroark, Chandelure, Toxtricity, Braixen, Latios, Latias, Victini, Electivire, Calyrex, Kartana, Corviknight, Shaman, Giratina, Hydreigon, Emboar, Lycanroc, Crocodile, Ampharos, Lazzle, Savali, Regieleki, Entei, Swampert, Aggron, Orcheops, Magmortar, Crobat, Gyarados, Sigilyph, Snorlax, Cyndaquil, Lugia, Baniri, Gengar, Staraptor, Zeraora, Surfetch'd, Mew, Mewtwo, Gallade, Gardevoir, Goodra, Scizor, Mudsdale, Litleo, Pyroar, Arcanine, Barraskewda, Ferrothorn, Xerneas, Absol, Sylveon, Heliolisk, Holucha, Pangoro, Snom, Lurentis, Qrem, Magzone, Deoxys, Dragapult, Noivern, Aegislash, Scrafty, Dialga, Skarmory, Superior, Yveltal, Reshiram, Lapras, Urshifu, Braviary, Dragonite, Milotic, Xurkitree, Stufful, Vulpix, Wooloo, Termanitan, Minior, Sandaconda, Lantern, Ambipom, Neoking, Manectric, Yanmega! You know, I've gotten pretty diverse with my choices from a popularity standpoint. I include some that seem like no-brainers, and threw in a couple oddballs. And for number 1, I'm going back to the no-brainer because you might have expected this choice. Come here, my precious Pikachu!
Pikachu!
Yes, I know that Pikachu is probably the most vanilla choice for a favorite Pokemon ever, and calling it the best Pokemon from a battle standpoint is grossly overselling it. Unless you give it a Light Ball, which doubles its attack, or you're using Let's Go's partner Pikachu, which has higher than normal stats, along with a potential Candy Fun, these stats are what it's stuck with. So along with the only damaging moves it gets through leveling up being normal and electric, it isn't going to be doing much. So I get why one wouldn't consider Pikachu, but the Light Ball doubling Pikachu's offenses does make for fun ways to circumvent things, and with some good moves, which include Surf and Nasty Plot in later gens, Pikachu can decently hold its own, despite being incredibly frail no matter what. Pikachu's always been reliable for me in both playthroughs and in versus, and it's borderline fun seeing it actually fight well against a lot of Pokemon that would normally have no problem hitting it hard. I distinctly remember one I used in Leaf Green actually managing to deal with most of Lorelai's team, and beating Sabrina's Alakazam on its own. Yeah, it's done some borderline crazy stuff for me. All that's fun, but Pikachu's at the top because, well, I just feel like it's a good partner Pokemon to have with me. Admittedly, I am a sucker for all things cute, and Pikachu, from the way it's colored, to those cheeks, that tail, to its overall demeanor, is just cute, pure, and joyful. I feel at ease just seeing Pikachu be the adorable little fuzzball it is, regardless of where it decides to appear. The games, the anime, a live-action movie, Smash Bros, Pokken, or even when it decides to play dress-up, or get giant and chonky in its Gigantamax form. And at that point, I stop caring about overall metagame reliability, how much it's marketed, or even if it's actually the savior of all mankind. Pikachu's just a good friend to have, and honestly, I feel that's the most sound logic of picking a favorite Pokemon. It's perfectly valid to have a favorite Pokemon be one that Smogon believes is uber tier, or just picking a favorite based on the concept and design or anything like that. But personally speaking, forming a bond with a Pokemon that suits everything you like out of one is what defines the series for me. If I'm going to travel with a bunch of fictional creatures, I want to feel like I'm actually learning about them and seeing how they grow with me and how I grow with them. That's why I play Pokemon, and it's why it's my favorite franchise of all time. And I've always found it easy to connect with Pikachu, from the days of old until now, since it was always there to cheer me up. Yeah, what I'm saying might be really corny, but come on, with how much I love this little guy, he deserves this #1 spot. I'm the Link Gripper, and if you have a favorite Pokemon that defines what the series means to you, or a Pokemon that you just love using above all the rest, or you just have a weird way of picking your favorite, continue to love them. It's one thing we all have as dedicated fans. Happy 25th anniversary, Pokemon!